I was lying in bed. I was woken up by what I assumed was my husband going to use the restroom. I used the opportunity to steal back some blankets, and I woke my husband up in the process. I told him I was sorry, and that I thought he had gone to the bathroom. He said it was okay, and he gave me a kiss, but as he turned back around to go to sleep, he froze, a look of terror on his face. "What's wrong?" I asked. He just stared at the foot of the bed. I looked where he was staring, and there I saw it. The creature that I now know is known as the Rake. It looked like a naked, deformed man or hairless dog of some kind. Its hands had long, sharp claws that each looked like a kitchen knife. It was just sitting there, staring out the window. Then it turned around, and once it realized we had noticed it, it scrambled in the most unnatural way, an unsettling way I can imagine, down off the bed and over to my husband's side. It stood there, not even a foot from my husband's face, and just stared at him. Then, after what seemed like forever, it went over. It climbed over him and did the same thing to me. As I stared, I could tell it was looking directly into my soul, its eyes seeming almost non-corporeal, something supernatural, something that I couldn't comprehend. Then, it jerked its head to the side, staring out of the door into the hallway. It jumped down and scrambled in. I ran out to the hall just in time to see it run into my daughter's room. I screamed for my husband, and we went and we ran. But by the time we got into her room, the creature had fled. My daughter was sitting there eviscerated on the ground. I picked her up, and my daughter's short life, her very last words were, "He is the Rake." My husband immediately scooped her up and ran to take her to the hospital. I didn't know what to do. I just collapsed on the floor. Then, the next morning, after I wasn't able to reach my husband, I got the news. My husband, on the way to the hospital, had driven off a cliff. Neither he or my daughter survived. I've dedicated my life now to studying this creature to learn what it is and why it did what it did. I have found a handful of people who also say they've had experience with it, and a group of old reports, some spanning back centuries. There's this one from a British sailor who had taken up shop in America. I have seen the greatest terror. I have seen the greatest terror. I have seen the greatest terror. I hear his voice when I sleep, and I see his eyes when I awake. I can no longer have a moment of peace, for I know there is the Rake. He is the Rake, and he demands I go back to where I have come from. I have seen the greatest terror. I have seen the greatest terror. I have seen the greatest terror. After this, I met a group of people who also have seemed to have met the creature we now know as the Rake. And interestingly enough, in all of their cases, similar to mine, everything just seemed to go away. There were no records, no hospital records of our dead relatives, no police reports that we had filed, nothing. We also found, around the area where we live, for the past century or so, every few years there would be a complete blackout. A complete blackout with no evidence shown in a case that, other than the cave's name, just seemed to be gone. I learned from them that once you see the Rake, he never lets you go. But he won't kill you if you know he's there. This tormented me. I set up a camera in my room facing my bed, and I review it every night. I know he's there, but I have yet to see him. But I've realized when I slow the video down, I can hear a voice I know I heard that night, even if I didn't realize it. It says horrible things, the least of which are, "You can never escape. I am watching. Who are you?" I know that the Rake is coming for me, and I hope that if you hear this story and you meet this creature, you can find some way to get rid of it, because I never could. He is the Rake. Alright, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that story. I'm Dead Hatter. You've been beautiful and sweet screams.